Of Mountain Sportswear and Hardware and Sports out of Truckee, and he's also their internal trustee. I also want to forgot to mention last time that Mountain Hardware was just named the ESOP Company of the Year by the California Western States Association, ESOP Association, and we're happy to have Doug here today to talk to us about ESOP. And
thanks, Linda.
you too.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I've got to meet with your management this morning, and I got to meet with the first shift and some folks. And I guess, are you guys second shift or combination? Or?
All
right. Well, good. Well, it's really a pleasure to be here. And it's not that often that I get to San Francisco and see blue sky. It's pretty cool. So let me tell you a little bit about Mountain Hardware, and you'll see more of this. We brought a little movie to show you. Mountain Hardware was formed in 1977. It was 4 guys. They came up to Truckee. That was, in those days, Truckee was pretty small, about 3,500 people, and they really came up to ski. And so they had jobs, waiting tables, and bartending, and one of them was the controller at Tahoe Donner, which is a neighborhood up there, when it was in its infancy. And anyway, they decided to buy a hardware store. They all got together and they pooled their money and borrowed money from folks and did all kinds of things, and bought this hardware store back in 1977 with the idea that 2 of them started a paint company, and that was the catalyst for them to buy the hardware store. They thought they could get a better price on paint. And so those guys painted 5 days a week, took 1 day off, and then they worked the hardware store the other day. And the other partners worked the hardware store 6 days a week and took 1 day off. But it was small enough that if the skiing was good, one of them would always be skiing, sometimes 2 of them, painters or hardware store. They, one of the partners left in the early 80s, and believe it or not, has been wildly successful. And what he sold was, we tease him all the time, he sold hair doilies. He works for somebody who sells hair products or lasers. He, first time I met him, I'm standing over a golf ball getting ready to hit it, and he said, "You'd be a candidate for this laser." Yeah, he's a swell guy. Anyway, I obviously haven't done it. But anyway, so they started the store. He left. I came in 1999 as the general manager, and in 2001 they formed an ESOP. They didn't have any successors. They have been really good to me, allowed me to run the company almost from the day I got there. And so we purchased, ESOP was formed, we purchased 49% of the company. 5 or 6 years later, we bought another 2%, so the ESOP had a majority, and then we paid off all that debt over a period of years, went through the recession, which really affects stores like ours or retail in general. Took a big bloody nose during the recession. And then in 2013, in April of 2013, we went out and borrowed the money and bought the balance of the company. So we became 100% employee. We had our share of challenges, and we'll talk about that, but we learned a lot. So Linda said we're the ESOP Company of the Year for our chapter. That's not because of me. And I mean, not at all. It's because we have a great staff that have taken interest in this company and that they own it. That's why that is. And so we have an ESOP communication committee. Our staff is pretty engaged. And we were able to do that. You guys are facing this McCormick challenge that I'm told about. You have a great challenge in front of you, but it's not insurmountable. And I would argue that if it's handled right by everybody in this organization, you'll come out of it stronger than when it. No one, we said in the previous meeting, nobody is looking to get a bloody nose. No one's looking for the pain of losing a customer or that. But if you're wise on how you handle that, and wise on how that changes your operation, and more importantly, wise on how it changes your culture, you'll come out of it stronger. And I'm going to tell you, this is your company. You know, you don't get the chance to opt in or opt out as an employee of Lithotype. You're in the ESOP. You know, if you meet the criteria, you're in. It's your company. So I'm going to run through some slides real quick. I want you to feel free to ask me some questions if you'd like to. But we'll just go through, like I say, our history. 1977, we were formed. The ESOP was formed in 2001. 2007, we increased to 51%. 2013, we become 100%, and we're leveraged. You guys know what leverage means? Mountain Hardware, to purchase the remaining 49% of Mountain Hardware, we had to go out and borrow $4 million. That means we're leveraged. It just means we have debt against it. Now I want you to understand something. We're all employee owners. When we bought the balance of Mountain Hardware, the share price was $25 and change. Then I went out, because we didn't really have any debt on the ESOP. We had a little bit of operational debt, but no debt on the ESOP. Then I went out and borrowed $4 million, 49% of the value of the company. And the people that come and appraise your business, when you go out and borrow 49%, and the appraisal is based on it's a really simple theory. It's what would a willing buyer and a willing seller agree to in the open market. It has nothing to do with ESOPs. It's just what would a willing buyer and a willing seller agree to on a price. When they come and do the appraisal, they're saying, okay, we'll look at all your history, your cash flows, all that kind of stuff, and look at your debt. And then they said, oh, by the way, because since you have 49% debt, we got to put an additional risk factor in there. So where I was thinking our share price might drop by 49%, because that's what I borrowed, it actually dropped by 54 or 55%. We went from 25 and change down to $12.33. That was our buddy. It doesn't feel good. It was bad, but because of that, we're better. I mean, nobody wants to see the share price drop like that. We knew it was going to happen. I didn't expect it to drop that much. We knew it was going to happen. You guys, you're gonna feel some of this pain from losing a customer. But the answers, they're here. I met with the management team today and I challenged them, and I'm going to challenge you guys today too. And it's both sides. It's not, in fact, I would argue you're all just employee owners. You have different levels of responsibility in the company, and I, in talking to the management, I asked them, and we were talking to the people here and then to the people in Illinois, and I asked them to tell me what what are the attributes of leadership, and they gave them to me, and there were a lot of them, and they were good, but they didn't have the two that I think are the most important. And number one is humility, and number two is meekness. And you go, well, what's meekness all about? Meekness is they have the authority. The governance in your company didn't change. It's being smart enough, wise enough, humble enough to say, I don't got to make every decision. I can go out and solicit. I can go out and collaborate with the people that are on the floor, because you guys have the answers. You know where your waste is. You know where your shrink is. You know where your inefficiencies are. It's having people in leadership do that. And I'm not trying to throw the leadership under the bus, but the other side of it is you got to share those ideas. If you don't share them, what good is that? So it's got to happen on both sides. Anyway, we'll keep going. So our challenge, Great Recession, 2007 through 2011. You'll get a picture of our store and what it's like. But discretionary money kind of went by the wayside. We have these Hardware stores. We have two of them. and they're typical lace hardwares, except that we put really big fishing and fly fishing departments in there. We put clothing in there, like, you know, good clothing like Columbia and Mountain Hardwear and North Face and stuff like that. We put home decor. You're not going to find the stuff in our decor areas that you'd find at a Walmart or a Target. We go far and wide for that stuff. We do patio furniture. So there's a whole section, camping, there's a whole section that's pretty discretionary. You know, if your sink's clogged or your toilet's clogged, you gotta have a plunger. You can't get by without it, but you don't necessarily need a crystal vase. So, so anyway, we made sure that we went out and solicited help from our staff because we had a 14% sales decrease. You guys, we only are making $150,000 a year. That's what our profit was in 2006. Then we had a 14% sales decrease, and I didn't know if we wouldn't go under. We had several years there, and our business in the wintertime is really slow, even though a lot of people come up there to ski, and we might sell gloves or beanies or that kind of stuff. The real volume comes from being able to sell things like barbecues and lawn and garden and fly rods and that kind of stuff. None of that exists, and so in the winter, so it's not uncommon for us to be $350,000, $400,000 negative on our financials through the first 4 or 5 months out of it. Well, we faced that. You know, I borrowed money. I loaned the company money. I don't have money to loan the company. I mean, I'm not a big money guy. I had 3 kids in college. It took everything I had to borrow from a life insurance policy to make sure we could make payroll. That's where it went, and then we really focused on expense management, and we did it through talking to our staff. We had staff say, hey, we need to reduce inventory, so we reduced our inventory. We reduced waste. We listened to those ideas. Not every one of them was great, but we didn't squash any of them. And I'll tell you too that sometimes the leadership in a company has to make unpopular decisions, but I would hope that they would explain to you why they make the decision they do. Because they, you know, governance didn't necessarily change in your company. But wherever possible in our company, I want to get as much information I can from my partners, which are all of us, right? So that we can make the best decisions. So what did we do? We relied on our culture to reposition us. So we win together. And like I say, the answers are here. Because you guys, the sales thing I think is funny because it matters. You never know who's beside you in line at the market or who's overhearing you at the ball game or at church or whoever. You never know who that is. And if you're out in the community when you're talking about your company, and remember, it's your company. The ESOP does that. It's your company. Well, if you're saying negative things about it, that's the image you're going to portray. If you're saying positive things, that's also the image that will be portrayed. And it matters. I love to hear people tell me, you know, one of your staff was standing in line and I heard somebody say, what do they do? And they say, I'm an owner of Mountain Hardwear. We won. They get it. If they own it, they get it if they acknowledge that. So anyway, sales, we can influence it. Everybody can influence it. Efficiency, we know what we can be better at. Quality, there's always room for improvement there. How do you reduce waste? And what do you do to improve productivity? I told the story. When we went through the recession, I asked that everybody that works for us, we have 84 employees, 85 employees. At the time, we probably had 70, 65 employees, something like that. Everybody had to know how to ring a register, including me. because we have 7. And I wanted all 7 of them to be open at any time we were open. Didn't mean we had to have them open all the time, but if we had business, I didn't want anybody to wait. Because the thing that bothers me about waiting is you don't respect my time if you make me wait. So if I go to the market and there's 10 people in front of me in line, you don't respect my time. And if you ever spend time in Truckee at the market, they don't respect your time. They don't respect your mom's time, your dog's time. They don't respect anybody's time. So you can get in there and be a long line. I don't want that to ever happen in our company. And that's one of those things that our staff feels really strongly about. And so everybody can ring. And when I get on there, I told them this morning, I am not a good cashier. That is not what I'm good at. There's not much I'm good at. The cashier, and I'm not good at. So what I do is I walk up there and I make sure our registers, there's 2 cashiers in a queue. I never go in one alone because I got questions and I got to have somebody who knows how to answer them or I'm not helping. But I'll walk in there and say, hey, I maybe am not the best cashier, but I am the best looking. You know, you just, whatever I can do to make somebody laugh and to make it just more fun, I do. Because if I'm on the register, we need somebody on the register. And I won't be there very long because somebody's going to go, Doug is on the register, get some help up here. But I'll, you know, customers feel better if you feel like if we're jumping. So that's one of the things that we do. And our staff's not afraid to say, hey, Doug, would you ring for a minute? They'll laugh about it, but they'll do it. So I want to talk about our culture because that's all I can talk about. So what is it? What is the ESOP culture? What's the culture of your company? Let's throw out the ESOP. You don't have to have an ESOP to have a great company. But I think an ESOP makes a company better if it's handled right. And if people are engaged and they understand. So in our case, our culture is this, and in simple terms, it's not as an employee owner, where do I get a park? Do I get an assigned parking space now? I'm the owner. We're retailers. When people come to the retail store, sometimes they got to go to a bathroom. When you walk in the bathroom, what's it look like? If it's dirty, clean it. I don't care what level you are in the company, including me. Because that matters. That speaks to who we are. That's culture. The culture says we realize that every customer is an invited guest, and we can influence that. We can influence the experience. The culture says that we realize that every associate is my partner, and I'm going to treat them with respect, and I'm going to talk to them with honor. It doesn't mean that we're not going to disagree at times. It means that I'm going to use the golden rule. I'm going to treat them the way that I want to be treated at every level. Now, do I have to fire people sometimes? Sometimes. You know, it happens. The governance didn't change. I didn't quit being the president of Mountain Hardware. Sometimes I got to tell people they fired themselves. That's usually what happens. But I still don't need to be rude about it. You know, that there's no need, there's no place for that. So how do we influence the culture? What I challenge the management here today is to be humble, to be me, and to set the example. But now what I challenge you to is if that gets done, you've got to step up. Because you have the answers. You can make the company better than it was prior to losing the market, right? And the ESOP didn't cause the market to go away. I mean, has anybody got a negative vibe about the ESOP? Is there a negative? Can you give me an ESOP negative? I can't think of a single one, because if your company does good, you're going to have a retirement account. If your company doesn't do good, you're not. But you didn't, you know, if your company doesn't do good, you're not going to have one now, right? This is earned capitalism. It's not shared, it's earned. You earn it. And we earn it as a group. I said in the earlier meeting, My share price is the same as anybody else that works for me. I have a different number of shares. There's a calculation that we figure, but I don't get phantom shares. I don't get shares any different way than anybody else does, and the share price of mine is the same as the share price of everybody else. My shares went to $12.33, just like everybody else's did. When theirs went up, mine went up, the exact same amount. That's how that works. That's the beauty of the ESOP. But you guys, you gotta own it, and you do. Whether you take it here or not is up to you, but you should, because it's your company. Uh-oh. What did I do? There we go. So what's it really mean to be an employee owner? What's the responsibility? See, I think the responsibility is having the courage and the confidence to say, look, I can see this area where we could be better, and I'm going to take it to somebody. I'll present that idea to them. Not as a jerk, not rude. I'm not going to make them defensive, but I am going to go to them and say, look, I got an idea. And maybe it's not a great idea. Maybe, but I expect that if it isn't, that the leadership just sit down with you and talk you through it, so that you need to understand why it doesn't really apply. But is there something in it that can apply? The fact that you're thinking about the company is huge. I mean, that is huge. You guys, I say again, you own it. I told the managers, the management team this morning, don't kid yourself. The people that are working down there in the printing areas care about this company. They're invested. Because we are. Deep down inside, in most cases, man, we like our company. We're proud of where we work. Now you own it. They have a responsibility to facilitate those ideas from you, but you have a responsibility to share. So how do we move from you to me and from me to we? And that's the challenge of the ESOP, is how do you move from this thing that says, look, I just go punch in and punch out and that's it, and you owe me this, or this is my feeling too. How am I going to make this the best company it can be? Because I'm not thinking just of myself, although I'm going to get rewarded. I'm thinking about my peers. I'm thinking about the people in admin when I work down on the floor. I'm thinking about the people that work in receiving or all the functional work groups. The power of this thing, this employee ownership plan is going, look, I'm going to own it, and I'm going to do my part to influence the outcome in a positive way. I'm going to talk about it that way. Because at the end of the day, you know, if you go out and badmouth your company and it causes your price to go, who'd you hurt? Everybody but yourself as well. There's no need. It's your company. So like I said, ESOP's not shared capitalism, it's earned capitalism. The beauty of the ESOP is ESOPs reward the people that make companies great. And do you guys know how many printing companies there are in the U.S.?
Thousands.
So what makes you unique? I'd argue it's you. Really? I mean, it's you. That's what makes you unique. Your presses, I mean, you're not the only people that have presses like that, are you? Somebody made them. I bet you there's a ton of them out there. It's the same about Mountain Hardware. How many Ace hardware stores are there in America? 43, 4,400? What makes us unique? We have a neat mix. It's unique, but somebody made a decision to buy stuff and put it in. Our staff made the decision. It wasn't me. I'm just a steward of it. I have a terrible eye for fashion. I know what a good fly rod looks like. But that's just a little bit of our business. Anyway, Joe DiMaggio up here says a person always doing his or her best becomes a natural leader just by example. So in Mountain Hardware, I told you we made $150,000 is what we made in 2006. In 2013, 2014, we made $1,049,000. This year we're paying out $500,000, give or take a little bit in distributions for employees. We're hardware people. We live up at Lake Top. It's a cool thing. You know, it is a cool thing. And the same opportunity is here for you guys. It's your company. Management knows they have to be more collaborative. They know that they gotta listen. But if there's nothing to listen to, it isn't gonna make a difference. And second of all, understand, share your ideas. No one's gonna give you a bad time for having a bad idea, but get it out there. Sometimes really good ideas come from really bad ideas. So put them out there. It's your company. Anybody have any questions for me here? We're gonna show you a quick movie. This movie is this movie was made by our staff. It was made in 2012 before we went to 100% employee owned. It was made mostly shot on a cell phone. So it's not a Hollywood production, but it's close. And like I say, it was really made by the staff. So I want to show it to you, and then I'll take questions, and or if you have any, or you can ask, you know, Penny or Linda or Dwight back here, or Frank, or any questions that you have, or Athos, he's here.
Do you have the remote?
The store so that they could have enough money to ski every day and still make a living and support their life hobby. The primary business for this little store was paint, hardware, and...
Any questions to be asked? How would this work? How?
Okay, here we go.
Sorry. Howard Jones, and Dane Scott took over a currently running hardware store and renamed it Mountain Hardware and Sports. This small hardware store was located in the old Gateway Shopping Center.
They were ski bums to the core. They created this store so that they could have enough money to ski every day and still make a living and support their life hobby. The primary business for this little store was paint, hardware, and tools. And they put all their money into this business, not knowing whether it would be the best investment they ever made or the road to financial ruin.
In 1991, they moved the business to its present location on Donner Pass Road.
In 1991, Mountain Hardware moved to its present location on Donner Pass Road. The store is 4 times the size of its original location. Let alone maintain it. But with their hard work and the hard work of their employees, they made this